Hello everyone and welcome to the Faculty Lounge today. This is Tim Stack from the Utah Education Department and we're glad you could stop by and join us today. Just in time for this nice spring weather we've been having, we've got a presentation to help you get out and get fit, or at least keep track of your exercise efforts. Jared Covili here from our office is going to talk about what's new and interesting in the fitness tech area. So it should be a fun presentation today. With that, I'm going to send it over to Jared. Just a reminder, if you got a question or a comment, feel free to type it into the chat room down in the lower left-hand corner. Also, all of these faculty lounges are recorded and are available on the professional development page to watch as many times as you'd like. All right, Jared, I think it's all yours.
Thanks, Tim. It's good to be with you all in the Faculty Lounge today. A few weeks ago when we were deciding about topics for the Faculty Lounge, someone mentioned that they wanted to have us talk about technology and fitness. And of course, when those two topics come together, who do you think of but Jared Covili? So I'm very excited to be the model of fitness today for you all. But when I got the topic, I actually started to think about some of the people in our office that I know that have merged both fitness and technology together. And one of our colleagues, his name's Rich Finlinson, he's the public relations manager for UEN and communications. And Rich has had a lot of experience practicing and playing with different technologies that he uses in his fitness routine. And so I thought I would start out by introducing Rich to you all and let him talk about some of the different tools that he's currently using, and he can show you those himself.
Well, thanks, Jared. I think I will introduce myself a little bit in terms of why am I interested in technology and fitness. They both go back a long ways for me. So I'm going to just drag this PowerPoint over here and expand this out. This should be familiar to you as the gamut that your computer screen runs off of, right? Red pixels, blue pixels, and green pixels, and from those we can get all the colors of the rainbow. I have also used these three colors as a quick way of introducing myself. Red goes back to my childhood and my passion for technology. You know, even when I was a little boy, I was really interested in technology things. Blue is for a little bit later in my life with blue skies and endless possibilities and getting started on my education. And green is where I am now. I consider it associate it with growth and grandchildren. So we'll go back to the red. You know, as a little boy, I was really interested in anything that was electrical or had to do with sound or cameras, all that kind of stuff. I loved bicycles, tape recorders, eventually got into ham radio and explored swimming and darkrooming. And as I grew a little bit older, some of these things shifted as I got into high school and college. I was interested in radio and photography and video, and I found myself dating and getting married and having kids, and pursued my first career, which was in journalism, and then I moved over into marketing and public relations. And in the last few years, I've been interested in the history of technology, and I've come back to some of those things that I liked as a kid, swimming and biking. I've picked up some running, and I've been really interested in fitness because I want to be around for these grandchildren as they grow up. So this is just a really quick overview of some of the things I'm interested in, and one of the reasons that I'm interested in these portable fitness, wearable fitness devices. These are 10 of probably a dozen or more that are now on the market. Today we're just going to look at a couple of them. This is the Nike Fitbit, and this is the Polar Loop. And Jared, you can actually show us a live picture of the Polar Loop, and the picture Jared's going to show us is actually my loop that I've been using for a couple of months now. Actually about 3 months now. I don't see it, but we can keep moving along. Maybe we'll come back and take a look at the loop. Oh, here we go. One more. Hey, okay, here we go. There we go. So it has a clasp. It's a pre-adjusted size, and this is one of the downsides of the Polar is that once you set the size on it, if your wrist changes size, you got to go into the service center and get them to actually do a readjustment. There's the port, so it just has a little magnetic port on the back that goes to a USB cable. And it's roughly the same size as the Fitbit. It weighs 37 ounces. The Fitbit weighs 31 ounces. So we'll be taking a look at these two, just these two together. I'll show you a little comparison. Hey, thanks for the live shot there, Jared. Can you switch to my PowerPoint? All right, so there's the beauty shot. And I'll give you a quick comparison on 4 areas. Well, actually 5, because one of the things you're first going to look at, of course, is the cost. And these are very comparable, right just below the $100 mark. We'll look at how long the rechargeable battery lasts, how easy is it to set up. Oh, what about syncing? How do you get the data in and out of the device? And oh, do they do heart rate monitoring? So we'll move back to the battery life. My Polar Loop, I have to plug in at least twice a week to the USB port so it can charge. It seems to be a bit of a battery drain because it's got all those red LEDs. It can spell out messages to you. It has some graphics that will come across that screen, but there's a cost to the battery life. Whereas the Fitbit is a little bit more streamlined and you only have to plug it in about once a week. So if charging is a hassle to you, the winner is the Fitbit. In terms of setup, you cannot take the Polar Loop out of the box and put it on your wrist and be good to go, and you can't immediately sync it with your smartphone. You've got to connect it to a computer and do some setup. Whereas with the Fitbit, you really can come right out of the box and sync to your smartphone. You're good to go, no computer needed. So on that, in terms of ease of setup, the Fitbit is again the winner. In syncing, so how do you get the data out of your wearable device and onto a screen where you can make some sense of it? Unfortunately, the Polar Loop requires that you sync via a website, and this website isn't always available. So even if you're just syncing to your phone, you've got to have your phone connected to the internet so you can go out to the Polar site where your data goes and is compiled into graphics. A little bit of a hassle there. The good news for the Nike Fitbit is that it will sync reliably right to your phone. Don't have to go out to, your phone doesn't have to be connected to the internet for your syncs to occur. So there you go. So far it looks a little lopsided with the Nike Fitbit winning in those 3 categories. Heart rate monitoring. Well, you can do heart rate monitoring with the Polar Loop if you buy an additional heart rate monitor chest strap. That will cost you about $50. So you're really talking about, if you want to do heart rate monitoring, you've got to have about $150 investment there. Now this is the reason that I got the Polar Loop, because the Fitbit alone won't be very good to you in the swimming pool or on a bicycle. But if you can use your heart rate monitoring when you're biking or swimming, then you can get a complete picture, particularly so if you're interested in triathlons. The Polar Loop I think with this one feature overcomes some of the negative sides of it. At least that's what I thought as I bought it. But the Fitbit doesn't have the heart rate monitoring capability. So we get one winning column with the Polar Loop. Now here's another alternative, much less expensive. You can just buy a pedometer. Now it's not going to sync to your smartphone, but it's going to give you that really important feedback of how many steps are you taking. What I'm typically seeing in the literature is you want to try to be taking at least 10,000 steps a day, and this will tell you that at far less than $100 or $150. Now, I mentioned that I'm a grandpa, and one of the things I try to introduce my grandchildren to is cool stuff from the past. And you're probably aware of this, but the pedometer technology goes way, way back before the digital world. Here's an example of a 1930s pedometer. It just has a little pendulum in it. It was $85 as a starting bid this morning on eBay, so you're probably not going to get it for $85. But I remember when I was a little boy, my uncle had one of these pedometers, and he would let me use it sometimes when we were up at his cabin. The idea of the pedometer is really cool. So for me, with my combination of red, blue, and green, the Polar Loop was the one. But you'll have to decide what are your priorities and what you'd like to do. So that's it for me, Jared.
Rich, that was really interesting. I'm glad to see that the Polar got one of your 4 stars. We were kind of worried that it was going to lose all accounts, so that's great. A lot of you may not be interested in buying additional equipment, though. I know when I get questions about this kind of stuff, a lot of people ask me if there's ways that they can just use their smartphone and apps to help them with different fitness ideas. Rich, before I forget, Tim asked you a question. Does the Polar fitness bracelet work with older Polar chest straps?
Some of them. It depends on, I would say it would work with a couple of the more recent ones, but I don't think it'll work with the older ones to answer your question. If it's really old, it's not going to sync. If your chest strap is one that communicates via Bluetooth, and I think there are 3 or 4 models that do Bluetooth, then it should work.
Great. Thanks for that, Rich. I'm going to switch over now and show you a few ideas about apps that you can use for your fitness technology. So let's look at, in this case, I'm going to be showing you my iPhone screen because primarily a lot of people use their phones for their fitness exercise. Just quick check, can you see my screen? Good. So one of the first things that I want to point out when we talk about health and fitness, a lot of us are still trying to keep our New Year's resolutions and stay on the scales and checking out our weight and seeing if we can drop a few pounds. 2 of the more popular apps that you can get for free that will help you count calories and keep track of your intake are Lose It and MyFitnessPal. I'm going to click on Lose It because it's the one that I use. This is a no judgment zone about what I've eaten today. Thank you, folks. But you can see that with the Lose It app, every day you can go in and you can set different things that you're trying to do. So if I'm currently trying to lose some weight, I can keep track of 2 big things. Stuff coming into my body and ways that I'm trying to burn calories through exercise. And when you go in to add a food, you can see that it asks you what meal you're using. So let's just say I'm going to plug in my lunch for today. And you've got several different categories that you can look at. You can search the database for all the foods that are currently available. You can scan barcodes. So if you've got something that's kind of prepackaged, you can scan the barcode and it can read that barcode and tell you how many calories and the different vitamin and mineral makeup of your food with the fats and the salt and all that kind of thing. Or you can actually plug in and put in your own recipes and different things that you've done. Let's just kind of show you the scan barcode because I think that's kind of fun. So here we go, live shot here. You can all see that today I had a lovely can of Progresso light soup. It was yummy. But on the back, I'm going to switch over to the barcode here, And as soon as it catches that barcode, you can see that I ate a whopping 140 calories for my lunch today. I'm going to add that. And now I can say that I'm done. And you can see that it keeps track of all the different things that I've eaten today. Other things that you can do with this that are kind of fun, you can go into Motivate and you can find friends that you want to hook up with or talk about. We won't mention that Mean Mindy Jean hasn't used it for a week, so we won't point that out to anyone here. But kind of a fun little gadget there. Another point that I want to show you with this is you can also come to their website then. So if I refresh this page, it should now recognize that I put my soup in. So I know sometimes I like to use the app on my phone. Other times I like to go to the computer and plug some of these things in. But really a nice little tool, and you can do all of this for free. Vicky in our office likes to use MyFitnessPal, and you can see that it has similar characteristics. One of the things that she mentioned to me that she really likes is it seems to have a lot more pre-programmed things. For example, if you go to a restaurant, it can find a lot more of the local restaurants that you might go to, and it will have the menu items, so you don't have to try and plug in the ingredients. You can just click on some different things there. So that is MyFitnessPal, and I'm noticing in the comments Mindy is now using MyFitnessPal as well. So there we go. If they have anything that they'd like to share about it in the chat room, I'll let them add it. One of my favorite fitness apps is from Nike. And years ago, you might recall that Nike started selling a little sensor that you could use with your iPod. You'd actually put it into your shoe, and it would be kind of like a pedometer, like Rich was talking about earlier, where you could track your running. Well, since the smartphones have come around now, it has a built-in GPS, and it can keep track of your distance for you and all the calories that you burn as part of your run. So one of the things that I really like is this Nike running app. And things that I like about it is it tracks your activity, so you can see just how well you're doing. Keeps track of some of your more recent events, and you can kind of see some of the different things there. If I click on one of these, I took it out with my dog for a walk the other day. You can see it actually keeps track of my path that I took my dog on a walk with. It shows me my average speed. So when you're keeping a consistent speed, you can see it kind of keeps you in the green, lets you come in and say how you did and how far you went and all those kind of good things. If you are running, though, you can see sometimes you speed up or slow down at different points, and it will show you when you slow down. You can see on this one, in the second mile there, I kind of started to slow down as I was running a little bit there, and it keeps track of that as well, but throws that onto a map and helps you chart that. They also bring in the web. You can see that if I come onto the Nike activity board here, when I click on my activity, oh, of course, it signed me out. Give me 1 sec. You can log in here and you can see your progress. Oh, I actually have to put in an email address. Okay. So there we go. When I sign into this, you can see that it charts some of my activity, and you can see it on a map, you can see it on a graph. So kind of fun to be able to chart some of the different things that you're currently doing. You can see, you can double click on some of these things and you can pull those up and kind of chart some of those different things. So I have really enjoyed this app that works on both my phone as well as I can keep track of things on the computer. A couple other apps that I want to point out to you. Rich mentioned the idea of a pedometer, and yes, you can get a pedometer for very inexpensive that you can hook to your belt, but you can also use just an app like this one. Okay, that's a free pedometer that will let you, well, it wants you to see if you want to upgrade. I won't, but you can see that I can turn that on and keep track of all those things. One of the downsides to the pedometer on your phone, as Rich kind of mentioned, is the idea of battery life, and you can really run down your battery pretty quickly on some of these things. So that's a free pedometer that you can find several of those. Tim mentioned at the beginning of our presentation that we're going outside a lot more, and one of the cool things that I found from the department, let's see what, I forgot who put this out, but I think it is the Division of Wildlife Services and kind of the Parks Department. They've put out all the different hikes that you can go on throughout Utah, and you can click on any of those, and you can find out a little bit about the hike. You can get directions on how to get there. It will tell you about the ascent and descent, so you can see how difficult it's going to be. And it actually gives you all the information that you might need if you're going to go camping or do some different things when you go to these areas. So I really like that little app called Hike Utah as a fun way to get out and kind of explore and see some of those different things. One last app that I might mention for your phone is called the Nike Training Club. And this is an app that comes to us from Nike. I kind of get a sense from the pictures and everything that it's designed for women. That's kind of their target audience. But I'm going to tell you right now that every time I do this, it totally kicks my butt. So I am in awe of the ladies that do this routinely, but you can pick an easy, quick reference and it will show you the exercise. You can watch videos of it, and they have different areas that you can work on, whether you're trying to focus on cardio or strength training or all those different kinds of things. And they will show you all the exercises and kind of go through the circuit training with you, which I think is a fantastic little tool for us. Now, I've asked Tim to show an app for us that kind of goes along with the idea of coaching and fitness. You know, a lot of times our PE teachers sometimes don't see how technology always fits in with what they're trying to do, but there's a lot of great apps that coaches can use to kind of help influence their teams. So I'm going to let Tim talk about an app that he kind of plays around with called Coach's Eye. Okay, he'll be up in 1 second.
All right. Okay, can you hear me now, Jared?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, let me just share my screen. So I'm going to show you Coach's Eye, which is an app that gets used around our house a lot, but it's a perfect app for coaches, and high school coaches, actually someone who showed it to me. Let me just, it's a video coaching tool. So let me just pull it up quick here so you can have a look. And this one is not free. Just get out of this mode quick. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you pull it up. And so it's an app you can use to film an athlete performing or doing their sport, and then you can use the app to slow it down, to annotate it, and even compare it with other video. So for instance, you can see what we use it for mostly at my house is jumping on the trampoline and skiing. So for instance, let me just pull up a video here. And when I pull it up, you can see the tools along the bottom. There's a little scrubber, so I can just scrub with my finger and go frame by frame. You can see on the lower left-hand corner, I can turn on slow motion and then play it, and it plays the video in slow motion. So I'm going to pause that. Well, I'll let it play a little bit. I usually do it with my finger, so I can move this with my finger, and then let's say you're coaching, and I want to stop right here, and maybe I'm talking with a student. You can see those tools on the left down there. Now, not all of those are included. You have to pay extra for some of them, but at least there's a tool here that lets me draw a line. So if I was, drawing here, showing, okay, well, you're doing pretty good rotation there, and then I can play it again. Right, so you can annotate it. Now, if you notice, there's a record button up at the top. So maybe after I filmed students or filmed athletes, I would go home, I would pull up their video, and I'd look at it and think about what I wanted to share with them about the performance. And I can tap on that record button, and then it records my screen and my voice, anything that's happening on the screen. So if I was scrubbing back and forth and I was talking to the student or the athlete, or if I was drawing, all of that would be recorded, and it would end up to be a new video that I could then send to the student, which I think is would be kind of interesting way to coach. Also, let's say, so in this video that I filmed here, Little guy has a pretty good wipeout right there after he lands, and so we were trying to figure out why. He wanted to know why he wiped out. So you can see there's a compare button up in the corner. So I'm going to bring in another version here of this where he doesn't crash. Okay, so now I've got two videos, and then I've got a scrubber for each one. So I'm going to scrub the one on the left here down. Let's see, there we go. So I want to scrub them until they're about lined up. I'm going to scrub the one on the right and move it into about the same place. Okay, so I get them about the same, in the same place, and then if you look right in the middle of the screen on the bottom, there's two little links. So when I click on that, it links those two videos together, and now I can scrub, and they both move. I'm scrubbing both of them at the same time, and they're sort of hooked, and so now it's a little easier to analyze. And you can see that on this one on the left here, where he crashes, he's way higher above the ground when he finishes. On the one on the right, he finishes and he's a lot lower. So he crashed on the one on the left. It's because he finished way too early, had too much time, and then wiped out. So again, I can still record it. So a really nice tool for analyzing. Let me get out of here. All sorts of things from those kind of sports to, you can see it's heavily used in baseball. And also if you're filming kids and you don't have an example of proper technique, along the bottom down there, there's an explore button, and you can see all sorts of video that other people have shared that you can import in and use it to compare the video that a specific athlete was that you'd taken of a specific athlete. So you might find a really good example of a swing, or in this case it looks like a discus throw, and then bring it in and use it to compare. So that is the Coach's Eye app. And Jared, while I'm here, can I just share one more thing that probably is the fitness tool that I would say, if you're a cyclist or a runner, that you've probably already heard of. It's called Strava, and they have an app that can go on your smartphone, or if you have a bike computer or a running computer that is GPS based, you can upload those runs or those rides, or you can just use your smartphone to record and upload your ride. They have a Strava app. And then the interesting thing here is that it's social. So for instance, here's a friend who's a mountain biker, and she did this ride yesterday, and you can follow your friend. So I'm following her, so I can see what her activity is, and I can click on it. I can actually see the route she did, and all that information. But you can see down at here, this is the part that is has taken off like crazy, are these segments. So people have marked different segments, and then if I click on this one, so let's say Zoo to Dry Creek Switchback, this 4.9 mile segment, it gives you a way to compete, or at least to see where you stand in sort of the bigger picture of everyone else who uses Strava that may have ridden this same segment. It keeps a leaderboard. So you can see that she's doing pretty good. She's 9th on the leaderboard out of 176, and she can see people who are in front of her. And it's surprisingly motivating when you can see kind of where you stack. And now you see lots of folks out that are specifically trying to beat Strava times to get onto this leaderboard. So it can be really motivating, and for some people very addictive to try to get on a leaderboard. This mountain biker, Joey here, she is probably the best female mountain biker in Utah. So she gets these Queen of the Mountains all the time. So for in the women's category, she's the Queen of the Mountain. She's number 1 on the leaderboard, and you could see she was 9th on the overall leaderboard, which is pretty darn good. So most of these people in front of her are pros. So it is kind of fun to see where you stack up out there. And so that's a super popular one now among cyclists and runners. So that's my take, Jared. Okay, Jared says we're out of time, so we're just going to finish up there with that. And thank you everyone for watching today. There's a lot of ways that technology can help improve your fitness or give you lots of tools to see how you're doing and to help you keep track of things. So we just barely touched on a few of them today, but we appreciate you coming and watching. And I don't see any questions there. Just a reminder of what's going on for the rest of the year. We just have two more faculty lounges. You can see the topics there. Oh, I think I might have a mistake here. Jared's telling me. What's Rachel going to do? Oh, okay, yeah. Mindy's not going to be presenting next week. It's going to be Rachel Murphy who's going to talk about using the TED Talk videos and their great tool, TED Ed, to make lessons using or taking advantage of some of those TED videos, or actually you can use it to use just about any video to create sort of wraparound lessons, which could be used if you're doing some flipped work in your classroom or just for some fun student activities. So with that, we're going to wrap up, folks. We appreciate you coming, and have a good rest of your week.